Have a blessed morning, everyone. Welcome to the first series of webinar brought to you by the University of the Philippines College of Education. I am Professor Francis Grace H. Duka-Pante from the Health Education area of the college. This presentation is based on the white paper prepared by the UP College of Education Task Force Edukasyon. Allow me first to acknowledge the members of the task force, chaired by Dr. Sherilyn C. Montarola, co-chaired by our Dean Jerome Benviaje, and of course, we have the members of the Secretariat, Dr. Lorelai Arvin Yuan, Professor Tristan C. Orbeta, and the rest of the members include Professor Maria Mercedes E. Arzadon, Dr. Marie Therese A. P. Bustos, our former Dean, Dr. Liza Marie Campo Amor Aligario, Dr. Clement C. Camposano, Professor Abigail Thea O. Caduto, Dr. Jacqueline Marie L. Cauyan, our College Secretary, Dr. Maria Vanessa P. Lusong Oizon, our current University Registrar in the UP Diliman campus, Professor John Paul F. Maligalig, Dr. Dina Joanna S. Ocampo, former Undersecretary of the Department of Education, and Professor Elenita N. Ke. The editor is Dr. Romeline A. Natilla. There are also additional contributors from the faculty of the Educational Administration area, Health Education, Reading Early Grade Art and Language Education, and the Special Education area. So this white paper is based on the guiding principles of compassion, inclusion, and innovation. So we call this the Education Resilience and Learning Continuity Plan. For the first guiding principle on compassion, we put premium on the importance of health and well-being of our faculty and staff, and of course our students. For inclusion, we ensure that nobody will be left behind. And for the innovation principle, we ensure that we strengthen our current processes and structures so that they become more responsive to the current crisis. The plan has 8 key strategies, and I am going to focus on the first key strategy on prioritizing teacher and student safety, health, and well-being. But along with that first key strategies, we also have the strategy on recalibrating curricular and assessment priorities, enact flexible learning options, empower families for home-based learning, lead for resilience and innovation, redesign the learning environment, evaluate education financing, and last would be to create new knowledge. So this is the framework of the Educational Resiliency and Learning Continuity Plan developed by the UP College of Education. As you can see, this is very comprehensive. At the center, you will find an icon, a school icon with the Philippine flag. So this symbolizes every school in the country. And around that icon, you will find the 8 key strategies embedded, of course, in the inclusion, innovation, and compassion principles. So this first series in the webinar will be based on the first strategy, the first key strategy on prioritizing the health and safety of our students and faculty. As we all know, research shows that along with the global issue on COVID-19, there would be an issue also on mental health. So based on research, any pandemic can trigger mental health concerns such as depression, anxiety, trauma, suicidal tendency, and panic. We're going to look at the different developmental stages. In the case of young children, when drastic changes are left unexplained to them, they can be unnecessarily scared or guilty. and can associate these unwelcome changes to their previous bad behaviors, resulting in a misguided sense of causality. So for young children, they feel that whatever is happening, whatever bad is happening, they have something to do with it. So it is very important that we explain to our young children in a way that they can understand that they don't have anything to do with the pandemic. Okay, so they don't have to blame themselves for it. Adolescents, on the other hand, can manifest emotional numbness, social withdrawal, or defiant behavior. So although we know that older children may have the cognitive ability, okay, to process what is happening, it is unfortunate that many of them manifest emotional numbness, and some may actually engage in risk-taking behaviors like substance use. Okay, they may start smoking, drinking alcohol, or worse, engaging in substance use. So in this current context, it is very much important that we focus more on our prevention efforts. Among adults, impulsive or erratic behaviors and conflicts among family members can surface because of the prolonged confinement and isolation. Well, personally, I am thankful that I married a good man, a good spouse, because it's really very difficult if you are with somebody, okay, you don't like, and you are in lockdown. You are with this person 24/7. So really choosing a spouse or a life partner becomes a major decision. You realize that, especially now. So I'm going now to focus on the principles under the different under the key strategy one. We have five principles under this key strategy. The first one is to do no harm. The second is to communicate accurate information for proactive coping. The third is to integrate standard health protocol in school operations, provide psychosocial support. And my focus for this webinar is the last one, practice self-care to avoid compassion fatigue. So although I'm going to concentrate on the last principle, I'm going to go through the other three. Okay, do no harm, communicate accurate information for proactive coping, and integrate standard health protocol in school operations. The fourth principle on providing psychosocial support will be presented to you on Friday. Professor Abigail Thea Canuto and Dr. Lorelai Vinuan will be facilitating a webinar on this topic. So please engage again, okay, on Friday. So do no harm. Very important principle. We need to protect our learners and teachers from neglect, abuse, discrimination, or stigma. We are familiar with cases wherein, especially with the healthcare providers being subjected to discrimination once they get infected with the virus. And this is something that we also need to be concerned about. And ensuring that interventions do not negatively impact beneficiaries. So I appreciate the fact that the Department of Education and the Commission on Higher Education are doing a lot of efforts to ensure that we reach all our learners wherever they may be. We ensure that no one is left behind. This is part of the principle of doing no harm. And then, of course, we decide on priorities based on needs and values. So as they say, it is very easy to make a decision once we are clear with our priorities and our values. The second is on communicating accurate information for proactive coping. As they say, this pandemic also brought to us an infodemic. There is a proliferation of fake news and inaccurate information. So being accurately informed about COVID-19 is the first step, okay, to ensure that we lessen the paranoia and anxiety. The health education area of the UP College of Education came up with an infographic. This was shared to the public last March 2020. And here you can see the 6 elements in the chain of infection. Why is this important? This is very relevant so that the public, okay, it's very important for everyone to understand that a communicable disease to be able to be transmitted from one person to another. There should be 6 elements in the chain. If you remove an element, there would be no communicable disease. So what are the 6 elements in the chain of infection? The first one is, of course, the causative agent. This is the organism that causes the disease. So simply we call this germ, okay? So examples of causative agents would be bacteria, would be virus, okay, and even parasitic worms. So in this particular case, we have the coronavirus as our causative agent. The second element in the chain is the reservoir. This is the habitat. This is the place where the causative agent resides. And in COVID-19, it is, of course, the human body. Okay, although there are reports that this was from animal, okay, which became transmitted to human beings. So we can see that from this context, the reservoir is the animal and the human being. Okay, next would be the portal of exit. This is the means or the mode of exiting from the host. So for the COVID-19, the coronavirus exits through the mouth when cough, okay, and sneeze, mouth and nose. Okay, from the mode of transmission, we all know that this is transmitted through droplets and through fomites. And from the portal of entry, coronavirus can enter the body through the mouth, nose, and eyes. From the susceptible host, we are all susceptible. Higher vulnerability would be to those who have pre-existing conditions and the elderly. So the most important thing is for us to remember that we can control the transmission of COVID-19 by breaking the chain at any point. So how do we do that? From the causative agent, we can disinfect high-touch surfaces such as doorknobs, switch, phone, toilet seat, keyboards, and other high-touch surfaces, and properly dispose our waste, particularly one-time facial mask. From the reservoir, that's why we observe quarantine, okay, for those who are potential carriers, isolation for those who are already sick. While from the portal of exit, this is the reason why we observe cough etiquette. So use the crook of your elbow, okay, to sneeze, okay, and wear facial mask properly. Be sure to fully cover the mouth, the nose, and the chin. I would like to emphasize this because there are a lot of people who are improperly using their facial mask. So ensure that you are properly, or you are fully covering your mouth, your nose, and your chin. From the mode of transmission, of course, it's very important that we do the hand washing protocol. Use soap and water, and at least for 20 seconds, you wash your hands properly. As they say, you sing the happy birthday song for 2 times, okay? And then observe cough etiquette and wear your facial mask, especially when you're going out. Observe physical distancing and disinfect high-touch surfaces. Stay home and isolate probable and confirmed cases. From the portal of entry, avoid touching your face with your unclean hands, and healthcare professionals must have the necessary personal protective equipment, and they should strictly observe droplet and airborne precautions. From the susceptible host, okay, we need to strengthen our immunity, and there are several ways to do that. First, you can eat nutritious food, especially those who are rich in vitamin C and zinc. We need to get enough rest and sleep and do regular exercise and add other physical activities. And of course, we need to manage our stress the healthy way. So again, I would like to emphasize, especially to the general public, that the protocols, the health and safety protocols, have reasons behind them. Okay, so understanding the chain of infection is very relevant so that we'll be able to understand really what's the rationale behind all these protocols. The next one is to integrate standard health protocol in school operations. And the basic assumption of this principle is when face-to-face classes become possible. And we don't know when that is going to happen. Maybe a few months from now, maybe after a year or 2 years, we don't know. But once face-to-face classes become possible, we need to integrate non-pharmaceutical interventions such as physical distancing inside and outside the classroom, so at least 1 meter apart, and in delivering essential health services such as the school feeding program. This is a very important program of the Department of Education. So here, I highlighted the term physical distancing. The World Health Organization reminded us that we need to observe physical distancing, not social distancing, because we need to remain connected to each other in various means, but we need to observe that physical distance so that we'll be able to control the possibility of transmitting the virus. Along with physical distancing, we also need to provide water, sanitation, and waste management facilities in our school and hygiene and sanitary supplies. So this is now part of the new normal. Also very crucial is the implementation of preventive and control measures, like, of course, we need to stay home when we're sick. We need to observe respiratory etiquette. We need to do regular hand washing, disinfecting high-touch surfaces, and of course, canceling student assemblies. Now, this is the main focus of my presentation. Practice self-care to avoid compassion fatigue. And I know that all of you can relate with this. I'm going to share with you practical tips on how to take good care of yourself before taking care of others. So we need to encourage self-awareness and reflection. We need to nurture our relationships to maintain work-life balance and set boundaries and realistic goals. Practice positive coping strategies. There are a lot of ways that you can do this. So we have an activity here. I'd like you to tell me what you see. I have here a figure. This is a stick figure. The question is this stick figure walking towards you or away from you? Okay, maybe some of you said it's actually walking away from you. Maybe some of you said, okay, the stick figure is walking towards you. Well, this exercise tells us the level of our stress. For those who answer that this stick figure is walking towards you, I'm sorry to say that you are in a high level of stress. You are anxious. You are highly anxious. You see this as a threat. For those of you who actually saw this stick figure walking away from you, congratulations. You are relaxed. You are managing your stress well. For many of us, I know that this stick figure is walking towards us. We see this as a threat, and I want to validate that feeling. It is okay to be not okay. Every emotion is validated. So why do we need to prioritize self-care? Well, self-care is the practice of taking a holistic approach to nurturing well-being in order to improve one's quality of life. If you're going to check the internet, there are a lot of resources on self-care. There are a lot of strategies that were recommended. But the difference in this presentation is that I'm going to provide with you with a holistic way of taking care of yourself. Norcross and Barnett in 2008 reminded us that beyond being an aspirational goal, engaging in self-care has been described as an ethical imperative. So it is our moral obligation to take good care of ourselves. It is just sad that many of us say that we're so busy, we don't have time to take good care of ourselves. And there are a lot of reasons why self-care is difficult for many people. Let me tell you a story. There was this customer who asked a salesperson, okay, in a bookstore, where can I find a book entitled Self-Care, as easy as 1, 2, 3? You know what the salesperson said? Oh, maybe you can find that in the science fiction area. Funny, right? So this is just an illustration that self-care is not easy to do. And there are a lot of barriers. The first one is attachment to unhealthy behaviors. We're just used to doing things that are unhealthy, that are not health promoting. There are unhealthful habits, and we just keep on doing it. So our attachment to these unhealthy behaviors is a major barrier to self-care. The second one is lack of motivation to change. We don't see any value to changing. We don't. We also find it difficult deciding when in the lifespan to adopt a healthy lifestyle. So there is no timeline. We have difficulty processing, okay, when am I going to change? When am I going to start doing healthy practices? Well, technically, we all know that this should happen as soon as possible, as early as possible. There's also difficulty in maintaining behavior over time. So sustaining these healthy practices takes a lot of commitment, takes a lot of dedication and discipline. So what are the benefits of self-care? There are a lot. And I hope that I'm going to convince you to invest in doing self-care because of this reason. So when we do self-care, we improve our well-being in general. There's lower morbidity, so meaning we lessen the probability of being sick. We establish healthier relationships because we're more happy, we're more calm. We increase our work efficiency, we're more motivated to do our work. And there is lesser stress. And yes, there is an improved quality of life. So it is really very important to invest in self-care. Now, let's look at the holistic approach to self-care. I have here a figure, okay, showing to us the 8 dimensions of wellness. So what I loved about this model is that it divided the 8 dimensions into 2 categories, the internal and the external. So for the internal, so these are resources within ourselves. We are looking at 4 dimensions. So we have the physical, the emotional, the mental, and the spiritual dimensions. While for the external, we have the environmental, social, financial, and occupational dimensions. So remember that these 8 dimensions are interrelated. Okay? What happens to your physical health would impact the other 7 dimensions and vice versa. So let's start off with the physical dimension. How are you going to nurture your physical well-being? And I'm going to start with some practical tips. Maybe some of you already know this. This is just going to be a review for the majority. But it is sad that many of us know this, but we don't apply this. So this is a reminder to apply what we know. So we need to bridge the gap between health knowledge and health practice. So getting enough sleep, reminder, most of us need 7 to 8 hours of sleep, okay, in order to feel refreshed and energetic in the morning. And sleep disturbances can affect our work performance. We all know that. So a single day of deviance from the sleep schedule can confuse your body. So please get enough. It is one way of protecting your mental and physical health. When we sleep, we tell our body, okay, it's time to rest and rejuvenate. The second very important thing is to be active. Exercise. The WHO said that we need at least 20 to 30 minutes each day, okay, of physical activity, so that this will help us in relaxing negative thoughts, reducing our anxiety, and boosting our confidence. And find something that you enjoy. Because one of the reasons why people don't get enough physical activity is that they do something that they don't enjoy. So find something that you are happy doing. So for instance, if you love dancing, then do dancing activity, but make it regular. So at least 30 minutes of body movement, okay, that would have a tremendous impact on your health. Mind what you eat. So we keep on reminding people, please eat nutritious food. Okay? Nourishing your body and your mind with a healthy diet can help you stay focused and keep your body satisfied. Stay hydrated. Water is still the healthiest drink. So please stay hydrated. Please don't skip meals because this can deprive your body from energy, and dehydration can increase your physical and mental stress. So this can limit your performance. So what I'm recommending is to focus on plant-based diet. Okay, stay away from simple carbohydrates that have inflammatory effect and is actually related to depression. So eat more plants and provide more color. So the more colorful your vegetables and your fruits, the healthier they are. Now, I want you to do an activity. This is called the progressive muscle relaxation technique. And I have here the several steps that you can do. We're going to do this together. And we have the muscle mantra. It's called, we need to clench and inhale. So every time we inhale, we tighten a particular muscle group. We hold it for 5 to 10 seconds. We relax and inhale and rest for 10 to 20 seconds, and we repeat for each part of the body. So I'm going to ask you to do this. Find a comfortable position, and we're going to do the progressive muscle relaxation technique. Are you ready? Okay, so let's begin. So we start with one foot. You can choose either the left or the right. Okay, clench your muscles by curling your toes tight. So you need to clench, okay? You need to curl your toes while you inhale, and you're going to do this. You're going to hold this for 5 seconds, okay? So ready? 1, 2, 3, go. One foot, clench. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Very good. And then you relax and exhale. Okay, and then we rest for 10 seconds before moving on to the next muscle group. The next one is our lower leg. Okay, pull your toes upwards towards you, which tenses the calf, and then we relax. So let's do it. 1, 2, 3, go. Lower leg, tighten your lower leg. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Then relax and exhale. Next, we move on to our thigh muscles. Okay, so we need to tighten our thigh muscles. Are you ready? Okay, tighten your thigh muscles as well as your foot and calf. Ready? 1, 2, 3, go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Relax and exhale. Now we're going to repeat these 3 exercises for the other leg. So now move on to the other leg, starting again with one foot. Okay, ready? Clench your muscles. Tighten it. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Then release and exhale. Move to your lower leg. Pull your toes upward towards you. Tense your muscles there. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Then release and relax. Now move on to your thigh muscles as well as your foot and calf. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Release and relax. Wow, that's good. Feels so good. Okay, let's move on to the next one. One hand. Okay, one hand. Your right or your left. Okay, you're going to make a fist. Make it as tight as possible. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then exhale and relax. This time you're going to tighten your arm in the bicep flexing pose with your hand. Clench as well, okay? And then relax. Start. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Then exhale and relax. Other hand, please. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then relax. This time, tighten your arm. Bicep flexing pose. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Then relax. Exhale. This time we're going to tighten our buttocks. Tighten. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And relax. Suck in your stomach. Suck in. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Then relax. Take a deep breath to tighten your chest. Then relax. So now tighten your chest. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale and relax. Squeeze your shoulders up to your ears. Ready? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Then relax. Stretch your mouth open wide. Okay, 1, 2, 3, go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Then relax. Squeeze your eyes tight shut. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Then relax. This time you need to raise your eyebrows as high as possible. 1, 2, 3, go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Then relax. How did you feel? Relaxed? I hope that you were able to feel good, just like me. So this is the progressive muscle relaxation technique that you can do for your physical health. So please practice this. Okay, you can do this in your most comfortable position. You can teach your family members to do this. You can do this together. Okay, the progressive muscle relaxation technique. Now let's move on to the emotional component. Okay, very easy to do. You just need to smile. Even if it's a fake smile, it matters. So study says that when you smile, even in the lack of a humorous stimulus, your facial muscles communicate positive feelings to your brain. So your brain actually doesn't differentiate a genuine from a fake smile. So even if you just fake your smile, it is beneficial for your health. Okay, so smile. You are not fully dressed unless you smile. So give your most beautiful smile. Another is a very practical tip, keep a gratitude diary. And I'm not saying that you do this every day. You can plan your time, maybe just once or twice a week is enough. You make a conscious decision to become more grateful. Number 3 is very important. Be grateful for people more than things. They say that every one of us has at least 10 most significant people in our life. And we need to be grateful to these people. Count our blessings, okay? And watch out for surprising blessings. Another important tip for our emotional well-being is to practice self-compassion. And there are 3 steps to do this. The first one is to identify what you are feeling. Remember, the ability to feel a whole range of emotions is part of psychological health. It is psychologically healthy when you acknowledge that it is okay to feel whatever feeling you have. So just be aware, recognize, okay, ask yourself now, what are you feeling right now? Are you anxious? Are you happy? Are you calm? Do you feel pain? Acknowledge that. So you tell yourself, I am anxious. This is painful. The second step is to remind yourself of common reactions. So when you feel anxious, you tell yourself, everyone feels this way sometimes. And actually, in this current context, everyone feels anxious. Number 3 is to rest your hands on your heart or adopt another comforting pose and tell yourself, may I be compassionate to myself. May I be more loving to myself. May I have patience and strength. Or if you want, you can do a self-hug, okay? And tell yourself, I love myself. Do that now. I hope you're doing it, okay? So practice self-compassion. We can't give love if we don't start with self-love. Let's move on to the next dimension, which is mental well-being. And one very interesting technique is called cognitive reframing. So this is changing your thoughts so that you change your world. Okay, so I have here a table showing cognitive distortions, okay, examples of cognitive distortion and how you can do troubleshooting for your mental processes. So cognitive distortion number 1 is when we think that it is all or nothing. So it is when if you are not perfect, you must be hopeless. So when you say, I failed to prepare a learning kit for my students, so I'm an idiot. Maybe you can rephrase that, reframe that, and provide an alternative explanation. And you say, that was a tough job for everyone. I know that many of the teachers watching right now can relate with this. Okay, there are a lot of things that we need to do, and there's just too little time, and these are difficult tasks. So instead of dwelling with the all or nothing, recognize, reframe your thoughts, and say, this is normal. This is actually difficult for everyone. The second is overgeneralizing. So this happens, if it happens once, that is how it will always be. So an example would be for parents who would say, my child didn't listen to me. You will never do. Reframe that and say, maybe he's just overwhelmed with what is happening. Yeah. Next would be mental filter. So when we focus on a negative detail and then we screen out the wider context. So we say, oh, my supervisor likes my ideas but says I need to improve on my presentation skills. And you feel that you're a failure. Instead, you reframe that and you say, she wouldn't tell me what to improve if she didn't believe in me. So you can see the main difference here. So just changing the way you think about things, you process about things would mean a lot of difference, would make a lot of difference. Next would be personalizing. So this is blaming yourself if things go wrong. So for example, you say, my son is moody and I am a bad parent. Reframe that and you say, he's a teenager, he's experiencing a lot of changes, right? Another would be emotional reasoning. You are taking your feelings for facts. When you say, I feel like a failure, so that's what I must be. Instead, you tell yourself, maybe I'm just tired and discouraged today. The last one will be disqualifying the positive and finding ways to write off good news and positive feedback. So, for instance, when your spouse praise you for your cooking, for your culinary skills, and then you say, oh, he's just trying to make me feel good. Why not reframe that and say, maybe he actually meant it. right? So please practice this. These are very practical tips for your mental health. Now let's move on to spiritual well-being. Get in touch with your values. So please remember then that when we talk about spiritual well-being, we're just not talking about religion. It goes beyond religion. This also encompasses our values and principles in life. So if religion is an important part of your identity, find time for prayer, meditation. A few moments of a spiritual connection each day can help improve physical health, decrease stress, and improve overall well-being. And for spiritual well-being, what I'm going to ask you to do is to practice a basic mindfulness exercise. So just be with the present, let it go. So again, sit somewhere comfortable. And I want you to let your attention settle. Close your eyes if you want to. If you're comfortable closing your eyes, you focus your attention on your breath. Just focus on your breathing. Are you to breathe now? Focus on your breathing. If your attention wanders, don't worry about it. Quietly bring your focus back to your breath. Just focus on your breathing. Let it go. If there are a lot of things coming in, just let it go. Carry on 5 minutes or longer. Okay, just do it. Focus on your breathing. Then gently relax your attention. And now you can open your eyes. Because you don't have much time, I just ask you to do it for just a minute, but you can do this for at least 5 minutes or more. You can do this repeatedly. Just to be in the moment. There are a lot of mindfulness exercises online. You can check headspace.com. A lot of take care of your pain. I talked about protecting, building a safe space for studying or working. So having a comfortable and organized environment can make you feel less stressed and happier. It helps in reducing anxiety and making you feel more in control of your environment and your life. So you can decorate this personal space. You can put your evidence of accomplishments, and then maybe use a calming color, blue, and calming effects. And you can also use aromatherapy. You know, many of you are fond of essential oils. Those are those have therapeutic effect, and you can use those. For the social well-being, it's very important that we build a social support system. That's why I it should be physical distancing, not social distancing. Because research shows that people with strong support experience less stress and exhibit better overall health than those people who are socially isolated. So use the technology to connect to people who matter. Let's move on to financial well-being. You need to improve your financial habits. Buy experiences rather than things. So invest in experiences. Okay, you travel when it's possible. Maybe in the future. Okay, 3 years, 4 years from now, and then keep a spending diary so that you'll be able to track your expenses, and stay away from the hedonic treadmill. It's a cycle of pleasure seeking that keeps us dissatisfied. So what is hedonic treadmill or hedonic adaptation? This is actually a theory that says whatever we do, we always go back to our baseline level of happiness. So we keep on that we would like to acquire, like we would like to get the latest iPhone, for instance, but once we get it, the happiness doesn't last long, and we go back to the baseline level of happiness. So we are dissatisfied, and that cycle continues. So please be aware of that, the hedonic treadmill. Now let's move on to occupational well-being. Okay, so how do we nurture our vocational or occupational well-being? We can keep track of the stress through a journal. So maybe you can try putting on paper what are the stressors, what are the work-related stressors, and use time off to the full, use weekends to recharge. I know that many people would say that working from home is more difficult because there is a thin line separating work and home life. So setting boundaries, okay, allotting a schedule, having that workspace, those are very important so that we will be able to cope with the new normal. Practice those exercises and relaxation techniques, and don't try to control the uncontrollable. Okay? Let it go. Do not dwell on things that are beyond your control. And please celebrate every success, no matter how small. The health education area of the UP College of Education prepared this alphabet guide, okay, to stay sane while in quarantine. So we have recommended, okay, and that would make you sane. This is very good for your holistic health and well-being. So if you want a copy of this, you can check the UP College of Education website. It is there, and a lot of resources to help us cope. Okay? I have here an activity, and it's called Build a Self-Care Toolkit. This is going to be your assignment. I'm a teacher, so I'm going to give you an assignment. So for the 8 dimensions of wellness, of course, you have physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, environmental, social, financial, and occupational. Build a self-care toolkit that would represent all these 8 dimensions. I'm going to give you an example. So I prepared a self-care toolkit. So this is my self-care toolkit. I hope you can see it. Can you see it? This is my self-care toolkit. And I have here several items that would represent each dimension of wellness. So let's start off with the physical dimension. Okay, can you see this? This is my pain relief rub. So whenever something is in pain, yeah, body pain, so I have here for my physical well-being. For my social health, I have here a symbol for my social support. So connect with people who matter. Next is I use my medicine organizer for financial health. So for each day, I place the coin, yeah, to symbolize the importance of saving for the future. Next one, for mental health, I have here a notebook to keep track of my stress and to help me have that sense of focus. For environmental health, look, it's very cute. Okay, so communing with nature. This is my symbol for nature. Yeah, and I miss really going out. This is my symbol for environmental well-being. I'm a Catholic, so this is my symbol for a spiritual well-being. Rosary, contemplative, okay, mindfulness. And for emotional health, I have here a balloon because I would like to release all my negative emotions. So I can blow this, okay? And as I blow this, all my negativities, all the negative energy will be captured by the balloon. And lastly, I have here for my occupational health. I know that there are a lot of stressors from work. I don't actually consider it as work. It is my vocation. But I have here a quotation saying, nothing is impossible. The word itself says, I'm possible. Okay, can you see this? So this gives me hope that I can cope with the new normal. I'm preparing for the online classes this coming semester. So, well, I was able to share with you the 8 items in my self-care kit. So your assignment is to come up with your own. So keep in mind, self-care behaviors are consistent with individual goals are more likely to develop into habits and be maintained over time. So if we'd like to build self-care into our daily life, we need to align self-care in to our priorities and values, our goals. So be clear about your goals and make it your and make it as a guide in planning for your holistic self-care. So in a nutshell, self-care is the practice of taking a holistic approach to nurturing well-being in order to improve one's quality of life. And self-care entails attention to the 8 dimensions of wellness. So we talked about physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, environmental, social, financial, and occupational dimensions. So you need to have holistic approach to self-care. You don't focus on one dimension alone. You need to attend to the different dimensions to make it really holistic. So for further resources, kindly check our collection. This was prepared by the UP College of Education. This is a curated resources for remote learning, and you can access it. Please share with your friends. Okay. So let me end my presentation by reminding you that almost everything will work again if you unplug it for a few minutes, including you. If you're going to make a difference in the world, we need to start within. The best investment in life is investing in yourself. Thank you so much, everyone. I guess I'm now ready for questions. I'm going to read the questions from my Viber. So let me check the questions. Okay, I'm just checking the questions. I can see it for a while. Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much to my colleague, Shari Lukman, and of course to Professor John Paul Maligali for all the technical support. Now I'm going to read the questions. From Michelle Del Valle. I believe that resilience is inherent among Filipinos. I am positive that we can get through all this. Our flexibility and resilience can find its way to adjust to the new normal. Wow, this is a very good point. We are a very resilient people. When we talk about resilience, it is identifying and utilizing our internal and external resources so that we will be able to bounce back after this crisis. And I'm also hopeful that we'll be able to get through this crisis. So thank you so much, Michelle. Okay. Ikay, self-care is a moral obligation, but oftentimes neglected. True. So we need to prioritize it. That's why I entitled this presentation, charge up. Okay, we need to invest in ourselves. We need to be energized so that we'll be able to make a difference in other people's lives. So we need to invest in ourselves first. Anna Marie Duaman, is cognitive troubleshooting the same with growth mindset? It's related, but cognitive troubleshooting is actually equated to cognitive reframing. It is changing the way you think about things so that you will be able to change your reaction to it and your behavior to it. So growth mindset is actually opposite of having a fixed mindset. So it's more on expanding your horizon and looking at continuous growth. Okay. Philip Ariel Reyes, Australia. What is the best way to deal with negative people? People who always say and think that things or situations are too hard for them or us to handle. Very sad. There are people who are really difficult. So the first thing that you need to do is to stay away from these people. Okay? These are, I call these energy vampires. They suck our energy. So please stay away from these people. So identify these people in your life and stay away. Mary Reyes, teach, how do we know when we are just doing cognitive troubleshooting or just making excuses? This is a very good question. So you actually need to process. Okay, look for cues and analyze. Okay, so critical mindedness is very important here because you need to process. Is this cognitive reframing or I'm just making excuses? And it's a very good exercise. Okay, it will keep your mind alert. Next, Emerson Bishop Gulipardo. How can you maintain self-care despite being surrounded by negative people who questions, gives too much task, and bossy type of person? So this is very much related to my answer to the previous one, wherein you need to stay away from these people, set boundaries. Okay, it's very important to set boundaries and learn to say no. So refusal or resistance skills are very important. Abigail Comandao, what is your advice for time management? I am a breadwinner, caregiver, and homemaker. How do I ensure I can practice self-care? Thank you. Wow, this is really a good question. During my first webinar, I talked about work-life balance and I discussed time management there. I provided several techniques like focusing on the most difficult task at first. So upon waking up in the morning, focus on the most difficult task. So the most challenging task, prioritize that. The second is you can actually do a batch task, okay? Meaning all the similar tasks, you do all of those at the same time, okay? So you categorize. And then I also talked about the importance of setting boundaries, the importance of asking for help. I know that we are wearing a lot of hats. We are juggling so many responsibilities, and it's now imperative that we set that boundaries. And you talk to the other members of the family. I need help. I can't do this alone. Asking for help is not a sign of weakness. It's actually a sign of strength because you're able to be realistic, you're able to assess your abilities well. Prioritize self-care. So it is not an excuse that you don't have time. Meditation exercise will only take about 5 minutes. So please take time. Self-care is not something that you should be guilty of. It is not a selfish thing to do. We actually need to start with self-care. How can you love other people if you don't love yourself? So invest in yourself first. Carms Bonete, Mom, what can you advise to those teachers that their stress most of the time come from their students? I can totally relate with this. So what if your major stressor is your student? There are a lot of difficult students also. So again, limit your exposure to these students. I know that you also have your sunshine students. These are your students who energize you, who makes you feel more passionate about teaching. So expose yourself more to this kind of students and limit, okay, your exposure to this negative students. Yeah. Question from Renzi Pagu. Being a new teacher conducting remote teaching, how can I reach to my students to support the surf scale while teaching? You know, the UP College of Education will have a series of webinars and supporting our students wherever they are. This will be one of the important concepts that will be tackled. What I have described, okay, the different techniques on self-care that I have shared with you would be applicable to everyone. It will be applicable to you as a teacher. It will also be applicable to your students. So please feel free to share with your loved ones and your friends all the techniques that you have learned. Remember, knowledge is nothing without application. That is from Confucius. I guess that is the last question. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining me this morning. Thank you so much to Dr. Jerome, okay, our Dean, Dr. Jerome Buenviaje, the Dean of the UP College of Education, and of course to the Chair of the Task Force Edukasyon, Dr. Sherilyn Monterola, to our very efficient technical staff, our colleagues from the UP College of Education, Professor Shari Lukman, and of course to Professor John Paul Maligali. Thank you so much, everyone.